Welcome to this week's words of Torah and inspiration for the Torah portion of Shoftim. This week's Torah portion tells us the laws that were mandated to us to establish courts of justice, to establish judges, whether there are 3 judges, 23 judges, all throughout the land of Israel, and also to set up a system by which the law of the courts would be seen through and fulfilled by the litigants. Shoftim v'shotrim, setting up judges and shotrim, almost like officers that will make sure that the law is carried out. Now, this is interesting that it's being read in the month just prior to Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. Because prior to Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, we are also preoccupied to make sure that our affairs are in order. We also want to clear up any disputes or arguments we may be having with anybody before God decides to judge us. But the courts of up high in heaven are very different than the judges down here below. Down here below, the 2 litigants come before someone who will rule according to the laws of the Torah. But up there in heaven, when we come before the heavenly tribunal, we are judged by sometimes our own actions, our own words, and our own thoughts. What do I mean? God looks at us and says, what is it that you want? You want me to forgive you? Let me look throughout your own life. Were you forgiving to people? The Talmud tells us, if somebody is able to forgo their own emotional issues of anger, of dislike, and so on, and disappointment, then Hashem is able to overlook their faults and wrongdoings. So God doesn't judge us by what's right or wrong. He judges us by how we conducted our life down here. And if God sees that maybe we do have some misbehavior, but nonetheless we were forgiving to our fellow humans, then God himself will forgive us. It says, Hashem tzilcha yad yaminecha, that God is the shadow on our right side. And the word tzilcha for shadow can mean both shade and shadow. Typically, we interpret the sentence to mean that God is shade, a protection from the sun, a protection from our enemies, a protection from mishaps. So God is our shade, our protector that stands by our right side. But many say that Hashem Tzilcha, God is our shadow. And just like our shadow never lies, we never go and we move our hand one way and the shadow will disobey and do something else. The shadow will always mimic our own actions. In that way, Hashem Tzilcha, Hashem becomes our shadow. He's going to behave in a way that we behaved. So that if we were in achsar, if we were difficult in forgiving people, then Hashem says, I'm going to take a cue from you. But if you were kind and you were compassionate and you were willing to just let go, then God himself will let go as well. So unlike the courts of this world, the courts of God takes their cue and direction from us. So it's something to think about as we approach the high holidays, that our own interpersonal behavior with others could very well lead to the verdict that comes our way when God judges us on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. Have a great Shabbos.